Zera Shimshon on Parshas Chayei. So first we're going to look at the first two verses in this week's Parsha, which say, Vayihu Chayei Sarah mea shanim ve'esrim shanim ve'sheva shanim ve'shnei Chayei Sarah. V'tamah Sarah b'kiras arba v'hi chavroin be'eretz Canaan v'yavo Avraham l'spoid l'sar l'vkaisa. And Sarah was 127 years old. These were the years of Sarah's life. And Sarah died in Kiras Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Avram came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Zera Shimshon on this week's Parsha shows us the greatness of Sarah Imenu that is hidden within these verses, and shows us why she is deserving of the title Imenu, our mother. We refer to Sarah as Sarah Imenu, Sarah our mother. And so there's actually something interesting with the grammar of the second verse, which is on your screen. And to give you a little bit of a background, in English, we have a term called pronominal ambiguity. So for example, let's say you have a story. Jim and Bob go to the gas station, and he buys chips. That sentence in English doesn't make a lot of sense. Why? Because the pronoun he, it's ambiguous who it's referring to because you have two subjects in the sentence. You have Jim and Bob, right? So it's not really a well-worded sentence. In that sentence, you need to specify which of the two subjects, was it Jim or Bob, for it to be a grammatically correct sentence. Now, if the story is Jim went to the gas station and he bought chips, that's a fine sentence because we know the he, the pronoun he, is referring to Jim. And you don't have to do this every single time. Jim went to buy chips at the gas station, and Jim went and bought a Slurpee at the gas station, and Jim went and bought candy at the gas station. You don't have to mention Jim's name every time. After the first time, since it's only one subject, you can use the word he. Hebrew is no different. So look at this verse, and you'll notice that there's a problem, according to our rule. V'tamah Sarah b'kiras arba, chi Hebron be'eretz Canaan, ve'yavo Avram l'spoy l'Sara u'levkosa. And Sarah died in Kiras Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Well, why does the verse, according to the rule that we just set out, come and repeat that Abraham was mourning over Sarah? The subject at the beginning of the verse is Sarah. We have no reason to suspect that the subject at the end of the verse is going to be some other woman. I mean, who else would this be? So, of course, it's referring to Sarah. So why does the verse, the Zera Shimshon asks, have to repeat that Sarah is the one being eulogized? Who else? You don't need her name there. Just say he came to eulogize her. To answer this, the Zera Shimshon quotes a Gemara in Ksuvis that says that when eulogizing a woman, you are allowed to eulogize her by the accomplishments of her husband. Because it could be that many times women who are mostly in the shadows don't necessarily have their own individual accomplishments. And it's really their husbands who are maybe the breadwinners or the people out in the streets doing things. And so they might not have accomplishments that are recognizable to the average person on their own. So the Gemara says that for a woman like that who supported her husband and her husband became very successful and made a name for himself, you are allowed to, when eulogizing that woman, bring up the husband's accomplishments as if they are her own accomplishments. Now that's fine and dandy, but the Zera Shimshon says for a woman as high a level person as Sarah Imenu, that would not have been enough. Rabbis tell us, with many proofs, that Sarah was a higher level prophet than Avram Avinu was. And not only that, the Zera Shimshon says in another place that their whole tachlis in life, their whole purpose was to convert people to Judaism, which we call kiruv. And the Zera Shimshon says that Sarah's kiruv was much more effective than Avram's kiruv, that Sarah was mekarev, she brought more people closer to Yiddishkeit than Avraham did. So it would be inappropriate, it would be like lacking to just praise Sarah by the accomplishments of Avraham. She accomplished even more than Avraham accomplished in life. This, says the Zera Shimshon, is why the verse goes back and repeats Sarah's name. Meaning, V'yavo Avraham l'spoid l'Sara u'levkosa, that he came to eulogize Sarah. Sarah is an individual, like her as a person independent of being his wife. He came to mourn her, Sarah, the individual person named Sarah. Meaning, even if she wasn't my wife, and she was just Sarah, just some lady named Sarah, I would still be mourning her because of all that she accomplished. And that's why the verse goes back and mentions her name specifically as an individual. And now we can understand about how great of a woman she was and how much of a, like they say, like a glass ceiling smasher she must have been in that time, and why she would be worthy of being called Sarah Imenu. A great Shabbos.